Here's a picture of me 3 years ago, back when my back was completely flat, and here's a picture of my back now. I went from flexing bones and looking like a pencil to building the wide V-tapered back that I've always wanted in less than 3 years. And in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. So that you can start looking like you have wings and also get compliments like these too.
The most ridiculous before and after transformation that I've ever seen.
Now before we dive into the exact exercises that blew up my back, pause, let's talk about my training split and how often I train my back. So I'm in the gym 6 days a week and my split looks something like this. So on day 1, I like to train chest, biceps and shoulders. Day 2, I like to do legs and abs. And then on day 3, I train my back with my triceps, rest on day 4, and then I repeat it all over again. But if you're new here, you might be wondering, bro, why do you train your back with your triceps?
What is wrong with you?
Excuse me, what the actual
Now, if you've been following me for a while, you already know why I train this way. And before I explain that, make sure you hit that subscribe button because if you don't, you might stay stuck looking like young me.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
What the heck?
And we can't have that, so make sure you're subscribed. But yeah, there's 2 main reasons of why I train my back with my triceps. And reason number 1 is because I want to train my back with maximum intensity. If I was to train my back with my biceps would just tire out too quickly, which would limit how heavy I can pull on my back workouts. And training my back alone means I can lift heavier and activate my back muscles properly without my biceps giving out. And reason number 1, which is a lot more simple, is because the pump is absolutely insane. Because as soon as I'm done with my workout, I have this crazy back pump and tricep pump, which we can see from the back, and it just looks absolutely insane. Now this video is going to be split into 3 parts. Part number 1 is going to be the exact exercises that help me grow my back. Part number 2 is going to be key tips on how to maximize your back growth. And last but not least, part number 3 is going to be about nutrition and recovery. Now let's jump into the exact exercises that help me grow my back fast. If you want to build a balanced and aesthetic back, it's important to hit all the key muscle groups. And here's what you need to focus on. First off, we have the lats. This is what gives your back that width and V-taper look. And then we have the traps. This will add some size to your upper back and just make your physique look more complete. And then we have the rhomboids and the rear delts. These will give your back more depth and detail and also give it that 3D look. And we'll start with the most important part to build that aesthetic V-taper, the lats. And for my lat focused exercise, I like to do close grip lat pull downs. And the biggest tip I could give you for these to really feel your lats working instead of your biceps is to imagine that you're trying to scoop the air in front of you with your elbows, but make sure you still drive them straight down. This small tweak is going to remove all of the tension from your biceps and just shift it over to your lats. And here's how I do this exercise. So first thing I do would be just attaching a close grip attachment to the cable. Then before starting, I make sure to keep my chest up and lean slightly back to really engage my lats. And then I make sure I keep my chest up and I pull the bar down to my upper chest while keeping my elbows tucked. And also I make sure that I'm going down in a straight line with my elbows. And then I like to squeeze my lats at the bottom for 1 to 2 seconds before slowly controlling the weight back up. And for this exercise, I like to aim for 8 to 12 reps while also going to failure. And I make sure I'm focusing on the squeeze and the stretch part of the movement. Now for the alternatives, if you prefer free weights, you can definitely do weighted pull-ups or regular pull-ups. But what I like about lat pull downs is that they allow for better control and also it's a lot easier to progressively overload on them. And now we move on to the second exercise of this video, which is the T-bar rows. Now for upper back thickness, the T-bar rows are probably the best compound movement you can do. Now the reason why I like these much more than regular bent over rows is because of the added stability, which helps you go heavier with better form. There's also less lower back strain, more upper back activation, and also bigger gains in general because you're not wasting energy balancing, you're just pulling hard and growing muscle. I've also been using these a lot in some of my clients' programs too, and their back transformations have been crazy, as you can see over here. But yeah, if you want the same results and get coached by me directly, DM me the word coach on Instagram or simply just click on the first link in the bio and apply right there. But yeah, back to the T-bar rows, here's how I do them. So when doing the T-bar row, you really want to think about rounding your back out and allowing your shoulder blades to pull apart. Then once you're in this position, you pull the handles towards your lower chest while keeping your elbows tucked in and make sure you squeeze your shoulder blades together at the top. And then I hold at the top for 1 second and then control the weight slowly back down. And for this exercise, I like to go for 2 to 3 seconds sets of 8 to 12 reps to failure. And of course, I focus on rounding my back at the bottom and squeezing my shoulder blades together at the top. Now we move on to my favorite trap focused exercise, and that is the Smith machine shrugs. Now for building massive traps, my favorite exercise has always been Smith machine shrugs for two reasons. First one is because it's a lot easier to control, and also because you can go heavier on them. And here's how I like to do them. So first thing I do is that I stand with my feet around shoulder width apart, and I grip the bar at shoulder level. From here, I shrug my shoulders straight up, focusing on contracting the traps at the top. I hold for 1 to 2 seconds at the top before slowly lowering the weight back down. And for this exercise, I like to do 12 to 15 reps while going to failure every single time for 3 sets. Now, if you don't like this exercise and you want an alternative, you can do dumbbell shrugs instead, but the Smith machine just makes the movement more strict and it avoids you using any momentum while doing the exercise, which is mainly why I like it. And now we move on to the fourth exercise, which is more rhomboid focused, and that is the closed grip seated cable rows. Now, if you want thicker rhomboids and mid-back, closed grip seated cable rows are great. Now for these, I've seen a lot of people complaining because they feel them in their biceps instead of their back. And the key to really feeling these in your back is to pull with your elbows, not your hands. So basically what you want to do is imagine your hands are just like hooks. You know, you're holding the handles with them, and the focus is really just on driving your elbows back. And this is what's going to help you keep tension on your back instead of feeling them in your biceps. And here's basically how I do them. So I sit with my chest up and my shoulders retracted. I pull the handle towards my midsection while keeping my elbows tucked, and then I squeeze my mid back at the top and control the weight back down to the starting position, and make sure I'm leaning forward on the negative to really stretch my lats. And also, I make sure that I'm using the hook movement that I told you about to really feel my back instead of my biceps. And for these, I like to do 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps, of course, while going to failure. Now, last but not least, the muscle that everybody neglects, the rear delts. Now, the rear delts are often neglected, but they play a huge role in giving your back that 3D look. And for the rear delts, my favorite exercise is going to be the reverse pec deck machine. Now, the secret to doing these right is to push your shoulders forward and imagine you're trying to create the biggest circle possible around you while keeping your shoulders forward. And then you squeeze your rear delts at the peak and then slowly return to the starting position while controlling the eccentric movement. And I usually do 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps to failure every time I train them, and that's it. You see, for the rear delts, you're also going to be targeting them while doing rows and pull-ups, which is why I don't do much else to target them. Now, as an alternative, if you don't like the reverse pec deck, you can do face pulls, which are great, but the main problem with face pulls is that they don't have that strict and controlled movement, which is why I chose to do the reverse pec deck instead. But yeah, that was it for the exercises. Now let's jump into the 4 key tips that made a huge difference in my back growth. And the first tip is to focus on the stretch and the squeeze. Don't just yank the weight around. Make sure you're using controlled reps, feel the stretch at the bottom, and make sure you're squeezing hard at the top to really get that full muscle activation while training your back. Now, tip number 2 is to use straps. Your grip is always going to give out before your back does, especially on heavy pulling movements, which is why using lifting straps takes your whole grip out of the equation and allows you to really focus on contracting your back muscles without your forearms or hands fatiguing first. This means better activation, more reps, and ultimately more growth in your back. So yeah, if you've never used them before, try them out on your heaviest set, and trust me, you're gonna notice the difference immediately. Now, tip number 3 is progressive overload. If you've been lifting the same weight for months now and you don't notice your back growing, this is exactly why. Your muscles adapt quickly, and to keep growing, you need to constantly challenge them. And here's a few ways how you can progressively overload. First one would be to increase the weight. Even adding like 5 or 10 pounds over time is gonna make a huge difference. Second way to do it is to add more reps. If you're going to failure and hitting, for example, 8 reps, try pushing for 9 or 10 on your next workout and continue doing this until you get to 12 to 15 reps, and then up the weight again to make it harder. And when the weight becomes too easy, up the weight again to make the exercise harder and progressively overload that way too. And the third way to progressively overload is to slow down your reps. If you watch my video with Mike Israetel, you've probably seen me doing bicep curls with 10 pounds, and trust me, controlling the eccentric part of the movement made the weight feel like it was 40 pounds for that workout. Yep. So yeah, make sure you're controlling the eccentric part of the movement to really maximize the tension on your muscle. But yeah, the key to building muscle is to push your muscles past what they're usually used to. So if your workouts feel the same every single week, then your progress will also stay the same too. So make sure you keep making your workouts harder better and your back will grow. And last but not least, tip number 4 is going to be that machines are your best friend, basically. But what I love about machines is that they help isolate the targeted muscles better and let you train to failure safely. And since you don't have to worry about balance, you can focus purely on contracting your back and keeping tension where it matters, which in turn will help you grow faster. And now we get into the last and final part, which is the food and recovery part. Now, training hard is only half of the work, because if you're not recovering properly or eating properly, you're not going to see the results you want. Your back won't grow, no matter how hard you train it, which is why I recommend at least 6 to 9 hours of sleep per night. This is when your body repairs muscle tissue and releases growth hormones, which are both essential for muscle growth. Poor sleep will equate to slower recovery and also weaker workouts over time. So make sure you're sleeping enough. And now for the diet, your muscles need fuel to grow. So if you're trying to build size, make sure you're eating in a caloric surplus, which is usually 300 to 500 calories over your maintenance. And also make sure you're eating at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So yeah, make sure you dial these in with the exercise that I've told you before, and your back growth is going to go through the roof. And yeah, that's basically how I grew my back fast over the last 3 years. If this video helped you, make sure you like the video, subscribe for more, and also let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. Oh, and before I forget, if you're serious about getting results and don't want to waste your time guessing, I do one-on-one coaching where I create custom training plans, diet plans, and supplement plans for every single of my students depending on their goals and their lifestyles. All you have to do is follow it and watch your physique transform, just like hundreds of my clients before you. If you're interested, DM me the word coach on Instagram or simply click on the first link in the bio to apply and we'll get straight to work. As always, appreciate all the love and support. Love y'all. Peace.